Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Sergio Medina. I'm the student editor for the Mesquite at San Antonio, Texas A&M University at San Antonio, and I'm joined by you, Ms. Patricia Nazario. Uh, the question that we were just going over, in terms of inclusion, over the decade that you've been working on this project, have you noticed any improvement in the way the American society accepts the immigrant worker, the immigrant entrepreneur? Has inclusion gotten better?
From what I see, yeah, in my experience, I feel like, especially in the street food or food truck evolution, I think a lot of people are way more open in terms of going to maybe more Hispanic part of town or working class part of town and and experiencing food from a food truck in that area or maybe a street food vendor. But it's I think it's been like this blossoming, right? Because it's the foodies, it's the food bloggers, it's the people who are curious about these communities who go out, experience the food, take pictures, write a blog, post that on the internet, and then people might search best taco in East LA and end up, in this neighborhood on this off the beaten path and experiencing this amazing food that they read about. So it's where it starts, what came first, the chicken or the egg. It seems like it's this collective effort. And not that it's intentional, but it's like the byproduct of this evolution of journalism that's connecting people and communities and culture through food. Is it too loud? There's some students coming in and out.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Okay.
Let me just thank you. Presently, in your opinion, how can society, American society, facilitate the American dream for these Hispanic communities?
How can American society facilitate the American dream for Hispanic communities? I think we're seeing a lot of it. That's a pretty broad question. It feels like we're seeing a lot of it in terms of access to education, and going back to food. I think food being that great unifier. We're all human. We all need to eat. And when you have that curiosity about culture or about, it might boil down to a taco, but what they're talking about is the salsa in a taco, or the way that the tortilla is just perfectly crispy, or the extra homemade salsa that they provide for you, or the hot sauce that they make, ahí costera, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It harkens back to where these families come from, where these recipes come from. And so you have this experience of where there's acceptance through something that's so common, like food. So it feels like it's an opportunity for people to create conversation and dialogue through food, but in that comes the exception, the acceptance, right? People move away, Hispanics or Latinos move away from being called these negative names or stereotypes, or food trucks being called roach coaches. Like, people move away from those sorts of negative focuses and then begin to call people by their first name, or they know their children, or they know, their wife's name or their dog's name, and they have a conversations like a more human to human interaction.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily an economic uplift, but a more, I mean, it's a moral uplift. I don't think immigrants come here necessarily for a handout. People come here because they want to make a better life. And if you're respected and if you feel good about the space you're in, then I think that even feeds the soul more to be able to go out and achieve that inspired goal of making a better life for yourself and your family as an immigrant.
Mhm. Sort of finding that connection, right? Interacting with with other cultures is what, and food is a way to bridge that connection.
In
Thank
a way that's very non-threatening. It's difficult to have these conversations, conversations about politics, divided families, especially during the Trump era. We saw a lot of that. People couldn't get together for the holidays because they had different political perspectives. So, you just keep going down that rabbit hole, and then immigration becomes one of those issues that is so divisive. But if you can talk about food, or what people love about a certain dish, or where to go for this exceptional experience, then that is a different way for people to experience that other culture. It's way more inviting.
Thank you. As far as the production part of the film, I see that you involved interns, college students. What advice or what skills do you advise communication students to learn if they want to use their voice for social justice?
Really it's just dialing down into one's own passion, whatever that is, whether it's photography or whether it's research or maybe it's writing. Finding out what you're good at and pursuing it. It may not happen out the gate because we all need to get some experience, right? I would not have been able to do this documentary 5 years out of school. It really took time for me to work in local TV news, to work as a one-man band TV reporter, to learn how to run a camera and cut video. And then it took time for me to learn how to speak Spanish. I moved to Argentina and learned how to speak Spanish as an adult after graduate school at Columbia. So that took time. And then it took time for me to work at these NPR affiliates and learn how to cut audio and like audio tracks that are 13, 18 tracks deep and to mix that. So that's my personal journey. Everybody else is going to have their own story and their own personal journey. But the idea is you may not be able to pursue your own thing 1 or 2 years after school, but along the journey, improve your craft and just see what you're good at, get better at it, get more experience, diversify the experience. And when the opportunity comes or when that question appears, if you feel like you can answer it or explore it and bring it forward to the world, then I think that's where the harmony is.
Thank you. If you could look back to 2010 when you began this project, what advice would you have given yourself at the time?
Don't do it. No, I didn't know what I was getting into. So in that way, ignorance was bliss, I will admit. I thought I could do a long form story because I had done a 2-minute story on local TV news and thought that was something amazing. Or I had done maybe like a 3-part series of 4 minutes apiece at NPR, and I thought that was fantastic. Or I mean, I thought that was long form in that way, right? I thought I could qualify as someone who could do that kind of work. But I didn't know what I was stepping into. I didn't understand character development or character arc or story arc or like the 3-part storytelling or where in act 2, the character loses everything and builds himself back up in act 3. I didn't learn those things. I didn't go to film school. Also, in graduate school at Columbia, they did have documentary classes and a curriculum for that. I didn't see myself going down that path, and I didn't take those classes. So for me, I think it was more of a question. It was a curiosity about this industry, about these people, about what had been relegated or uncool, very like a social outcast kind of experience to something that was embraced and something that was celebrated. And I wanted to juxtapose those two and ask that question, why? Why is it cool now? So yeah, what advice I would have given myself, I just didn't know what I was in for. It was a little bit, I think I was not as prepared as I thought I might be. And probably would have told myself, strap in, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
As something that was prevalent, in your life over the last 10 years, and with the reception that it has received, has that inspired you to create more? What is next for you?
Oh, like another documentary?
Mhm.
Not on my own. If it were something that leads to a team effort or to some sort of an opportunity that's more structured in terms of um, systematic, whether it be something that's much more collaborative, I think I would be into that. But in terms of me taking the bull by the horns and saying, I'm going to do this thing, I would never do that again. It was a lot of work, a lot of side hustles. Paying everybody was always on me. Seeing it through from beginning to end was my responsibility. And even editing it to the level at which it's edited, like not settling when I couldn't understand why this video looked that way, I had to go look it up and I had to figure it out and then come back and fix it. So there was very much like stream of consciousness, like flow state, that I think a lot of creatives you drift into that, you know, when you're in the art. It sounds hoity-toity, but I think when you're into it, you just sort of like lose yourself in it. So there was a lot of flow state, but because I can't just go back and repeat what I did. I have to go back and look at notes. So I know that there were moments where there was just the creative happening. But it was a lot of work. It was very expensive. Um, I moved in with my sister when I started the project. So when I resigned from my position at KPCC in 2010 or so, I moved in with my sister thinking it would take a year. And obviously it took more than that. And so it was, you know, having to endure that part of my life as well as the creative side. So it was a very lonely journey, very isolating because I always was devoted to doing the work. So it took time. So by the time I was teaching myself the skills, implementing the skills, correcting what I had done, trying to make it better, it was a lot of time, which is why it kind of took so long. I basically learned on the job. So to think that I want to do that again, no, I will not. But you know, if it leads to something that's collaborative, that's more structured, that's like more of a systematic teamwork kind of a thing, then that would be awesome.
Was it worth it in the end?
I'll tell you when I sell it. Right now, you know, the film festival circuit has been fantastic. It's been amazing to go to, you know, we started in Hollywood, went to Paris, went to Newport Beach. San Antonio was tremendous. We won best the audience award for best documentary feature here and best food film. Um, so yeah, we're gonna go and have round two now, do a couple of maybe a few other festivals, some smaller festivals, and we'll see what else comes up. But I've enjoyed went to Sonoma, which was amazing. So meeting other filmmakers, it was validating. I will say that because what I'm explaining to you, like being lonely, being isolated, devoting my heart and soul to the work. To be at film festivals and to hear other filmmakers say that is such a validating experience. So that part has been encouraging. Not to the point where I want to do it again, but to the point where it's like, oh, okay, then you know, I wasn't that far out the box. And I actually learned too that 10 years is your typical time frame for a first time documentary, for a first time filmmaker. So that was right in the realm of where I was as well. So yeah, the film festival circuit has been amazing. I didn't know what it would be like or how it would be received. So to have it have been received so well and to have it be such a nurturing experience has been really fun. And the travels have been fun. Jaritos came on as a promotional partner, which was fantastic, and Dolores Welta being a part of it. So it's been, yeah, it's been encouraging and it's been validating. And I hope it does more to get the film in front of more audiences.
How much? What was the budget for this project?
All self-funded, so less than $1 million. But yeah, just, you know, side gigs along the way, um, pretty much every step of the way. Even my COVID money, because I had a side gig when COVID hit, so the whole staff was laid off, and then I was automatically enrolled to all of the benefits and stuff. And all of that money that came in during the COVID time, I used for color correction and more color correction. There were several step repeats of that for audio mixes and remixes, for festival preparation, for graphics work with a graphic artist, for posters. You know, it was pretty much nonstop. So I'd say, you know, if I could have sold my blood, I probably would have done that too. But everything that came in through me since I started this project has pretty much gone out to pay people along the way. My attorney's fees, third party rights, licenses, all kinds of stuff.
Thank you. We'll go over a couple of questions because we started the recording a little bit late. Um, can you go over why it is important to tell these stories about the immigrant entrepreneur?
It's important because it's the reality of the world we live in here. I think immigrants, and when I say here, I mean the United States. immigrants often are demonized because of their trajectory, whatever led them to the United States in quest of a better life for themselves, for their children, for their families. And it's difficult to have these conversations. It's almost like butting heads, like two rams on a mountaintop. If you want to just, hey, we're going to discuss immigration, you know, it's like discussing politics. People just, if you don't see eye to eye, it's just like a conflict. But if you begin to have this conversation around food, we're all human and we all need to eat. And food is such this beautiful way to experience culture, share stories. When you sit down and you begin to eat with people, what happens? People share stories about where they've been, where they've gone, where they're going, their kids, what they want to do. You know, you could be eating a meal with someone and find out you have more in common with that person than you thought you did at the beginning. And so I wanted to tell a story that would resonate with people and penetrate a little bit further than the surface without having to be confrontational.
And this is the message that you want these audiences to walk away with, correct?
Yeah, that hey, you know, go eat, go somewhere, go try some different food, have a conversation with someone you didn't know when you first walked in, and you know, just what can I say? We live in a complicated world these days. You know, it's very difficult for people to have civil conversation about politics and immigration and other big issues. But if there's a way where we could just go back to our humanity, not that we have to hold hands and sing kumbaya, but if people can just realize that we're all human, you know, I think we have a lot more to learn there than we have to separate us.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you for joining me. Are there the film will be showing at Texas A&M San Antonio this Saturday. Can you confirm the time and if it is free, accessible to the public?
It is free. It's accessible to the public. Can we post a flyer with this? I can send you the flyer. I think it's 5:30, but without going and messing up our image here, I wouldn't be able to confirm it.
I can double check. No
Uh,
problem.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, but it's free. It's open to the public. Come out. There is going to be a live Q&A, so I'll be there for the screening and to answer questions post-screening. I'd love to get some feedback on the film. There are some things that are still up in the air on what might stay, what might go. So I'm always curious to see how it lands with the audience and get some feedback from people on what they think where things are right now.
Thank you. Patricia, are there any additional comments you would like to provide us?
No, I just thank you and good luck to you on your career. Where do you see yourself going in journalism?
I want to do copywriting and editing.
For a newspaper or magazine?
Yes, newspaper mostly.
Awesome. That's great. Well, this is awesome because, you know, it's not just newspaper anymore. So your multimedia skills will come in handy.
Yes. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Mhm.